You've got servers in AWS, Azure, DigitalOcean, you got databases scattered about. How many passwords or connection strings or keys do you have to keep up with? The more you have, the more that could be leaked or stolen. That's the issue with passwords and credentials. One thing you need to know as a developer in this industry is that secrets are on the way out. They're dangerous. They're the reason everybody keeps getting hacked. If you're building new apps, consider leaving this option out completely. What's up, everybody? It's Travis here from Travis.media. So I want to start doing videos every now and then, introducing you to industry standard tooling that you'll probably use at some point in the near future, or you may want to use yourself but don't know about yet. Remember, you're a great developer, you're learning to code, or you're already awesome at coding, but as the years pass, you'll be expected to know more about what's in and around this developer ecosystem. So today, I want to introduce you to an open source tool that you'll not only be able to use personally or with a small team of developers, but is actually used in big named, large enterprise companies today. And in discussing this tool, I also want to cover some modern IT and security concepts that you might not be familiar with, but should be. So you'll learn about a new tool and some new industry lingo to add to your conversations. And as always, this video will have timestamps below, so feel free to jump around as needed. So go ahead, grab some coding fuel, and let's get started. Today we'll be looking at an open source app called Teleport. Teleport is all about access. It's an application that allows you to easily and securely access all of your infrastructure in one central location. That includes servers, applications, Windows desktops, Kubernetes clusters, and databases. So imagine taking your personal portfolio projects that are scattered all over the place and consolidating them into a single secure access point, or being able to SSH into all of your private servers from one location without having to keep up with SSH keys. Or maybe you're a small team of developers working on some apps together and you need role-based access to restrict who has access to what. Or you need a way to secure your private internal applications or home network and the applications and servers within it. Well, Teleport does all of this and is leading the way in security, access, and most importantly, making developers' lives easier and more productive. And while Teleport is used by some of the biggest companies out there with many useful features, for us in this video, I want to look at how it can help us self-taught developers, indie hackers, or small teams currently building projects. I personally use Teleport myself to manage my own servers and applications, and I'm thankful that they've offered to actually sponsor this video so that I can share all of these neat features with you after having used it now for over a year. Yes, I have a lot of experience with it, so if you have questions, do ask them below. So in this video, I'll go over 1, what it is and how it works, and I'll teach you about important industry concepts like zero trust and passwordless. 2, how you can install it yourself, really anywhere. It's a single binary. And then there's an option for those who'd rather not do it themselves. Number 3, I'll show you how to add servers and some other cool features like being able to pair up together on SSH sessions. Yes, I can join your session and we can work together. And then 4, we'll look at how easy it is to add an application. We'll discuss RBAC controls, GitHub SSO integration, home setups, and more. So let's go ahead and get started. So what is Teleport? Well, before I show you how to set all this up, let me teach you a little bit about it. So Teleport is all about access. We all have servers we log into and install things to, and we all have some applications that we've been building, and we all would like secure access to these items in one place without having to deal with passwords and secrets and things like that that can be stolen. One thing you need to know as a developer in this industry is that secrets are on the way out. They're dangerous. They're the reason everybody keeps getting hacked. Developers, if you're building new apps, consider leaving this option out completely and replace it with an SSO solution or OAuth, which you see in those login with Google or login with Facebook buttons, or a passwordless flow like Magic Links, where you log in and it sends you a code to your email and you never have to deal with passwords at all. And what Teleport does is it provides a single public-facing proxy that can then take care of secretless access to all of your infrastructure. So think about this. You've got servers in AWS, Azure, DigitalOcean, you got databases scattered about. How many passwords or connection strings or keys do you have to keep up with? The more you have, the more that could be leaked or stolen. That's the issue with passwords and credentials. I remember on a past job that I had where people were putting these static credentials or keys in S3 buckets. What? Well, Teleport gets rid of all of this by opting to use your identity in auto-expiring certificates. We'll come back to how this works in a bit, and be sure you check that out because this is where the industry is headed, and to be honest, is already at. So if we look at this diagram here, we see that the user logs into the proxy. So human clients log into the proxy. This also works for service accounts, by the way. But a person logs into this identity-aware proxy, and from there, you can access everything. Databases, servers, Windows, machines, Kubernetes, and web apps. And it's all accessed via short-lived, certificate-based, encrypted reverse tunnels back to the proxy. So the user never interacts directly with the resource. The human client never touches the database or the Windows server. And the proxy handles this secretless, encrypted reverse tunnel connection. This means that these critical resources do not need to listen on the network. They don't care about your network. They're accessed securely from the proxy. Now here's another concept you should be aware of. Teleport takes a zero trust approach. In the past, we've had a setup like this. We've had a perimeter-based security. So there's these resources inside this perimeter. Many know this better as a VPN. And with the VPN, it matters where you are. There's a perimeter here around these resources. If you're outside the perimeter, you can't touch it. But if you get inside the perimeter, you normally have wide open access. That means if your perimeter's breached, an attacker can then pivot and gain a greater foothold. So a perimeter-based model is where you're at. You're either outside or inside. With zero trust, it cares who you are, not where you are, but it cares who you are. So is your identity verified? Good, then come on in. But once you're inside, it continues to verify your identity as you move around in it, as resources are accessed. So because of that, you can place this on the public internet. That's what you do with Teleport. You're going to get verified, and you're going to continue to get verified as you access the resources. There is zero trust, period. So I've loaded you up now with enough theory. Before I go and show you how to install it and set it up, let's see it in action. So here I am at my login screen, and you're probably wondering, hey Travis, that's a password. Didn't you say we were passwordless? Well, yes, but we still give that option. You can disable this if you like. So I can put in my username, Travis Admin, a password, and then I'm choosing a hardware key. You can use your authenticator app, but I'm opting to choose a hardware key. And my hardware key today is this YubiKey. Now, if you're not familiar with YubiKeys, you plug it into your USB port and use it as a second factor device. So I have my password here, but when I click sign in, it requires me to tap that YubiKey as a second factor. It's something I have. The password is something I know. The YubiKey is something I have. So if I click sign in, it's going to tell me to tap my YubiKey. I tap it and I'm in. But like we said, we don't want to use passwords. So another option is to go to other sign-in options, and I can choose passwordless. Now Teleport integrates with WebAuthn, which is a web-based API for passwordless logins. If you look that up on the internet here, it's a new and better way of authenticating by using identity-based verification like your fingerprint. But Teleport already integrates with WebAuthn. We're not going to do that because I'd have to open my computer to use the fingerprint reader. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my GitHub SSO. In addition, Teleport supports OIDC, Okta, Active Directory, all of those things. So the options are endless here for SSO. The community edition, the open source version of Teleport, you can set up GitHub single sign-on. So I'm going to click that. That's going to take me right into my application. So here's Teleport. Currently, I have a couple of servers and a couple of apps. Now, when you set these up, you'll be able to see everything and access everything that's registered within Teleport. So in regards to servers, I have a server here. If I want to SSH into it, I just choose connect. My user on that Linux machine, which is Travis, and I have an SSH connection. ls, print working directory, exit. Easy as that. I didn't need an SSH key. In addition, I can keep my applications private. So here's a simple React application that manages employees. It's at employees.teleport.travis.media. And actually, if I try to access that in another browser, I'm not going to be able to because I first need to authenticate with Teleport, my proxy. But since I've already done that in this browser, I can go to launch my application. And my proxy is at teleport.travis.media. My application is at employees.teleport.travis.media. So Teleport adds a wildcard. It sets you up with an SSL certificate. I'll show you that in a minute. But I can go ahead and log into this and use it as needed. So if I had an employees app for my organization that needs to be internal, I could keep it safe here with Teleport. In addition, I could control what people have access to that application. Maybe only administrators should be able to see it. One thing that I could do, among many things, is I could add a tag to it, and then I could go to management and roles, and I could create a new role that allows access to applications with that tag or that label. So roles in Teleport is just a YAML file. It's very well documented in the documentation, but I could then assign that role to just the administrators. So if I wasn't an administrator and I logged in, I'm not going to even see that application. Employees. So everything is fine-grained and you can pick who has access to what. And finally, I have my AWS console here registered as an application. So you can set up AWS access here based on an IAM role. I could say this IAM role only grants access to EC2 instances in that homepage and put it in here, and then developers that have access to it can just go to launch, choose their IAM role. I have one for a power user, one for a read-only access user. So I'm going to choose power user, and I have instant access to my AWS console without any secrets. Some other neat features include If I go to management, I have an audit log of everything that's happened. So you'll see when I connect it to Grafana, a new app session started. You'll see certificates being issued. Remember, everything's certificate based. It's checking my identity as I'm doing things. And remember when we did that SSH session? Well, there's a recording of it. I can see what I did. ls, pwd, and then I typed exit. So when you talk to Billy and he says he didn't delete that entire folder, you can go back and watch him. Another neat feature is that when you initiate an SSH session, so here I'm going to connect to my server via SSH. When you do that, other users of your teleport cluster can then go to active sessions, and here's the active session here. They can see that you're in a session, and if you're having trouble, you can say, hey, can you come help me out? Let's pair together to fix this problem. Or if there's some auditing issue and somebody needs to watch you while you're on this production server, they can do so by joining here. I can go to join as an observer, a moderator, or as a peer. And as a peer, I can view the output and I can send input, so I can work with you together on some issues. That's really neat. All right, so how do we set this up? How do you install it? Well, it's really easy. I'm gonna show you how to install it, how to add a server, and how to add an application. And if we have time, I might show you how to add a Kubernetes cluster. So how do you go about setting this up? Well, there's two ways. One, you can install it yourself, which I'm gonna show you in a minute, or you can have them host it for you in the cloud with their 14-day trial of Teleport Team. To do that, you just go to my link below, and you come to this page, you just type in your work email. So I'm gonna do travis@travis.media, send activation link, and I'll check my inbox, and I'll click access account, and I'll create a cloud domain. So how about Travis Media, and create account. This is going to be at travismedia.teleport.sh, and it'll be hosted in the cloud. So they're creating a new account, and it'll take up to 10 minutes. So I'm going to pause it. We'll come back when it's done. And once that's done, you'll get an email that says your teleport instance is ready. Click the button to set up your login credentials. You'll click this. Here we can click get started, create a password. Click next, and I'm going to choose a hardware key. I'll call it YubiKey, and submit. And I'll touch my YubiKey, and you get presented with these recovery codes. So make sure you write these down, put these somewhere safe. Once you've done that, just choose I have saved my recovery codes. Then there'll be a couple questions, submit, and go to cluster. And there you go. You have 14 days to play with Teleport. And remember, go up here to your options and choose switch to dark theme, because we're not crazy. But say you don't want to do that, you want to keep it free and open source, that's an option too. Let me show you how to do that. So if you go to goteleport.com/docs, you'll get a tutorial here that'll teach you how to set it up. So let me walk you through it. First, there'll be some prerequisites. So you'll need a Linux host with 443 open to ingress traffic. You'll need a two-factor authenticator app, which everybody has, and you'll need a registered domain name. So for my Linux host, I'm just going to use an Amazon EC2 instance, which we can choose the free tier. And if all your credits are used up, it's like what, a couple pennies an hour? You can also choose to use a DigitalOcean droplet or a Linode server, both of which are like $5 a month, which is like 15 cents a day. So I'm going to use this EC2 instance. I'll call it my teleport instance. I'm going to choose Ubuntu. T2 Micro, it's free tier eligible. Pick a key pair and select an existing security group. And then I'm also down here under advanced details, just gonna turn on allow tags and metadata. If I set this to enable, then it's able to send the tags over to Teleport. So click launch instance, and I have my Linux server ready to go. While that's booting up, I'm gonna go ahead and configure my DNS. So my DNS for travis.media is with Cloudflare. And what I'll do is grab the public IP address, go back to my DNS, and I'm gonna create a new record. You'll need to create an A record, and let's call it demo. So it'll be demo.travis.media. If you don't have a domain, buy one. Find one with your name or something similar to it and start building stuff. Put your portfolio on there. Start blogging. Write about what you're learning. Everybody should have a domain that represents them. And if you do, Teleport's just going to use a subdomain off of it. So it's very easy. For the IPv4 address, paste here and save it. Now, if you look at the documentation, it also suggests that you put a wildcard in there, because when you add an application to Teleport, it's going to use this wildcard to name the app, whatever you want. So if it's teleport.travis.media, and we want to call it Grafana, because we're installing Grafana as an application, it'll be grafana.teleport.travis.media. So you want to put this wildcard in as well. So I'll go back and create another one with the same IP address, and just do star.demo. Paste that in and save that. And let me actually cut that proxy off. All right, so we've configured the DNS. Now we need to set up Teleport on our Linux host. And it's as simple as just running this single command. So let's go to our Linux server, connect to it. I'm just going to use the Amazon Connect feature, EC2 Instance Connect, I think it's called. And I'll paste that command in to install Teleport. While that's installing, let's go back. And once that's done, we'll need to configure Teleport. Now, Teleport has a configuration file. We just need to set our email and the cluster name. So let's put in our information. Our email, I'm just going to put travis@travis.media. And then the cluster name, I'm going to put as demo.travis.media. That's what we set up. So let's save that and run that next. There it is, Teleport installed successfully. So let's configure it by running this command. A Teleport configuration file has been created here. So we're configured. And then next, we just need to start and enable the service. So we're going to run systemctl enable and start Teleport. Paste that in, run it. And we should have a cluster up at demo.travis.media. My cluster's up and running, but I don't have a user. Who do I log in as? Well, we got to create one. So here in the documentation, how do we do that? Well, we use a tool called tctl. Teleport comes with two CLI tools. tctl, or TCTL, which is an administrative tool for creating users and other things like that. And then there's another one called TSH, which you can use to log into your infrastructure from your command line, and I'll show you that in a minute. So this command is sudo tctl users add. So we're going to add a user. The user is called teleport admin. Their roles are editor and access, which is kind of default. Access gives you everything, so you may want to change that later. And then logins, these are your server logins. We're going to put root, Ubuntu, and EC2 user. So let's copy that. Let's go back to our Ubuntu server where we installed our teleport cluster, and let's run this command to create a new user. And instead of teleport admin, I'm going to put Travis admin. I'm going to run this, and what it's going to do is it's going to generate an invite link that's good for 1 hour. So let me copy this link. So if you're creating a user for someone else, another person on your team, you generate this invite link, you send it to them, and they set up their own account. In this case, I'm going to set up mine. So I'm going to paste this invite link, click Get Started, and set a password. Now, passwordless, SSO, all of that isn't set up by default. You actually have to configure that. So we're going to stick with the password here. And then you'll need an authenticator app. So I got my Google Authenticator on my phone. I'll scan this QR code and type it in and submit. And I'm in. I can go to my cluster as Travis-admin. Change this to dark mode. So if you skipped over the self-install part because you wanted to do the cloud trial, we're in the same boat here. So what I want to do now is I want to show you how to add your first server and add your first application. So adding a server is really easy. You go up to enroll new resource. And from here, you have a list of all of these resources you can enroll. I want to enroll a server, an Ubuntu server. So I'm just going to type in the first few letters. There it is. And really, it's just a one-liner. You run this script and it'll set you up. So let me copy this. And for this, I have a DigitalOcean server called test SSH server. So I'm going to SSH into that and run that command. So when I run this command, Teleport's actually going to detect it. As soon as I run it and it's finished, it's going to turn green down here. It's that easy. So let's run this command. And the script is going to do everything for you. Watch this. It's done. It's green. Successfully detected your new Teleport instance. So I'll click Next, and I'll add a new user, Travis, and click Next. Change this to Travis, test my connection, and I have a connection. So click Finish. Browse existing resources, and you'll see I have my server protected by Teleport. If I want to SSH in, I just go to Travis to connect, and there I am. And that's how you add a server. It's very easy. Now, before I show you how to add an application, let me show you how to use the command line to access your infrastructure. So if you go to Home in the documentation and Installation, you'll see the chart of the operating system support. And if you scroll down to Mac OS, you can download the entire Teleport package, which has Teleport, tctl, TSH, and tbot binaries, or you can just download the TSH binary. So download this, install it, and you'll be able to open up your terminal and run TSH. And you can see all your commands. Now, to access your Teleport cluster via your terminal, you want to run TSH login, and then your proxy. So proxy equals, what's our proxy? Well, it is demo.travis.media. So demo.travis.media, and my auth will be local, and my user is Travis-admin. So I'm still using my password, and we'll have to run with this for now. So hit return, and of course I forgot my dashes, --user, --auth. When I do that, I can enter my password, then my OTP token. And look at this, here's what happens behind the scenes. So when I log in, I get a new certificate valid for 12 hours. This means when I log into something, it's not there indefinitely. In 12 hours, it expires. That's good protection. I have these logins, I have these roles, and this cluster. Now that I'm logged in, I can do tsh-ls to list my servers. Then you'll see I have 2 servers. Into SSH into my server, I just do tsh, ssh, and then my user, which is Travis, @ and my node name. So let's grab this node name, paste it in, and there's my SSH session. So everything can be done also from the command line. So let me exit out of that. And just to show you tsh logout, I can do a tsh login, and I can do auth equals GitHub to use my GitHub SSO integration. That should open a browser, and I'm logged in. So if I go back to my terminal, you'll see that I'm successfully logged in. So let's look at how to add an application. So to add an application, you'll follow these steps. And I'll point you to the documentation here. If you go to goteleport.com/docs, you'll see an application access part and getting started. Here's what you'll need to do. So I have in DigitalOcean a server with Grafana running on it. So I just followed the instructions here on the grafana.com page. These instructions for installing from the apt repository. So Grafana's running. How do we then protect it with Teleport, add it as a subdomain on our domain, and have an SSL certificate applied to it? Here's what we do. You can follow this tutorial, or you can go back to the UI and go to Enroll New Resource, type in application, here's your application, and there's just 3 steps. Step 1, download Teleport to your server. So in the documentation, there's an easy way to do this. It's again, just a one-liner. I'm gonna come here and install and configure Teleport. So let's copy this one-liner and install it on our server that's running Grafana. While that's installing, let's look at the next step. The next step is to configure your Teleport agent. So you're not installing Teleport as a proxy, you're installing an agent on this application server to talk to the proxy. And I'll show you where that's set up in a minute. So let's copy this command and I'm gonna paste it to a text editor. So let me create just a new text file, paste it in, word wrap. And here's what it says. Teleport configure. It's gonna output this configuration to this location. My app name, I want it to be Grafana. Grafana.demo.travis.media. The app URI is gonna be localhost 3000. Remember, Grafana runs on port 3000. And my proxy is already there, demo.travis.media, port 443. So let's grab this whole thing, copy it, go back to our Grafana server, do a sudo and paste this in to configure Teleport. And then the final step is to start the Teleport agent with the configuration file. So let's actually cat this config, let's sudo that. And you'll see here that the proxy service is not enabled. So we installed Teleport, but we're using it as an agent, an application agent. There's no SSH service, no auth service, no proxy service, but we do have an app service. It's enabled, and we have Grafana set up here. So now let's start up this agent with that config. Enter, and I need to do that with sudo. And it says the new service has started successfully. So now if we go back to our resources page, there's Grafana. It's that easy. And my role allows me to access it, so I'll just click launch to launch the application. And here's my login screen at grafana.demo.travis.media. And the default is just admin and admin. And actually, I'll just skip this for now. And there's Grafana. And if you get this origin not allowed, that's a quirk with Grafana. And if you see that issue, it's an easy fix. Let me know, I'll let you know below how to fix that. So I'd like to try to fit in real quick a Kubernetes cluster. So I have running locally just to demonstrate a Minikube cluster. So kubectl, get pods, all namespaces. Here's my Minikube cluster. Make this bigger. Let's say this is out on AWS or hosted somewhere else and you want it managed within Teleport. Let me show you how to do that. So if I go back to my cluster and choose enroll new resource, and I just type in Kubernetes, it's another guided wizard here. So add Teleport agent chart to your charts repository. So I'm gonna run this. All right, my chart is added. And then down here, what's my namespace? Let's do Teleport. And within Teleport, what do you want it to be named? Let's just say Minikube cluster. And next, and what it's gonna do is gonna generate a command that you'll run. So you'll cat this information into a prod cluster values YAML file, and then you'll run helm install to install the Teleport agent in your Kubernetes cluster with this information, like the auth token and labels and all of that. So I like to do this separate. I'm gonna grab this much and run it. And then the helm install command, run that. And it should install the agent on my Minikube cluster. If I check my pods now, I have a container creating, so let's give that a minute. It looks like our teleport agent is running. We should be able to go back to the UI. And there it is, successfully detected your new Kubernetes cluster. Now I'm just gonna get out of this wizard. You can keep going forward and set up groups and all of that, but I'm gonna bail out of this and go back to resources, and you should now see our cluster right here, Minikube cluster. Well, how do you connect to the cluster? So let's start by clicking connect. And if you've used Kubernetes, you know that we connect with kubectl, which is a CLI tool. So we need to do this from the terminal. Let's open the terminal. Let's log into teleport. Let me log out from any previous users. And I'm going to grab this login command. So I'll paste this in and I'll run this to login. And you'll see that Kubernetes is enabled and my Kubernetes groups is system masters. Now you don't want to do this in a production environment, really even a dev environment. This gives me like super user access to the cluster. What you want to do is set up a proper group in Kubernetes, one that's restricted in a way that you would like it to be, and then assign that group or user here in your teleport role. That's a little bit outside of the scope. Let's stick with this. The next step is optional. You can write your kube configuration elsewhere. We're going to keep it in the default spot. But once you run this tsh kube login command, it's going to update your kube config with this teleport short-lived certificate. So when I log into this cluster, it's going to update my kube config. If I log into another cluster managed by teleport, it'll update it again. So I can jump back and forth between clusters securely without having to deal with kube configs. And if you know anything about kube configs, we just pass them around, right? My kube config, you need access just here. Here's the information, use it. And that certificate is good forever. Well, teleport makes this not the case. So let's copy this command and let's log into this cluster. So tsh kube login, minikube cluster. And if I actually cat my kube folder and config, you'll see here my current context is demo.travis.media minikube cluster. Here's my certificate data. It's all there. Teleport handles it. And now that we're logged in, I can run kubectl get pods, and I have access to my cluster. There's my teleport agent running. So in the scenario that you have to work on multiple clusters, it just makes it easy. Now the last thing I want to show you is teleport connect. So if you don't want to use the UI and you don't want to use the terminal, there's a desktop app for you as well. So let's connect to the cluster, demo.travis.media. Gonna log in, and here's access to my cluster via a desktop app. So what's cool about this, if I go to my Kubernetes cluster, I'll see my Minikube cluster. I don't have to type in all of that. I can just click connect. It's gonna bring me to a terminal where I can instantly run kubectl. kubectl get services. There we have it. I can also run database commands. I don't have any databases set up at the moment. And then servers, I can SSH into my servers easily. So there we go. And that one doesn't have a user Travis. Let's try this other one. And I can SSH from this graphical user interface. So that's Teleport. If you want to try it out, there's a link below, 14-day free trial, or try the free version and set it up just like I showed you on the video. If you have any questions, as always, list them below. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.